Hey everybody, and welcome to another off the beaten path video. This is the Billy Goats Bluff Track, and this is right at the start down the bottom. As you can see, it starts off pretty gentle. This is a track that I've driven before, but actually come down it coming through from Lycola, so this was the first time I've driven up it. Like a lot of tracks since the fires, it looks like it's been fairly recently graded, so it's actually in better condition than the last time I drove it. And while it was steep as it is in sections, it was overall a pretty easy drive. You can see there's a Ford Ranger just up ahead of us. There's actually a fair bit of traffic on the track on this particular day, and this first section of the track, basically the Billy Goats Bluff Track's really in two sections. There's the start through to the helipad, and then from the helipad up to the pinnacles. This is sort of the sandier section, although there doesn't seem to be as much sand as there was. You can see here there's a few sections like this that are a little bit lumpy, but overall traction was really good, and it was you know, just a matter of keeping the throttle up and making our way up the track. It was a pretty hot day, and there was a lot of traffic on the track, and a lot of people, including us, were having some issues with overheating. You can see there, that's the Ranger just up ahead again, so that's just one vehicle that's actually thrown up all that dust, so it does pay to keep your distance if you can. This lower portion of the track is not too bad either for overtaking if you need to. So you can see we're coming up here to one of the hairpins, and there was quite a bit of traffic on this hairpin. We had the Ranger, they pulled off sort of straight ahead, and there was another Mitsubishi there on the left, and then a patrol just there on the right hand side, as well as a few people parked up on this next bend as well. So you can see the second patrol there's got the bonnet up, just trying to cool the engine down. They were all good. We just stopped to see how they were going, but they were just letting their engine cool down before pushing on. Basically the whole track, excepting a few sections, is just one really long steady climb. There are a few sort of flat portions, and there's actually a descent from the helipad, but generally it's a grind all the way from the bottom right through to the top. And this approach here is, I think we're just working our way up to the helipad now. Quite. You probably get some sense from how much the car's moving there. There's a few decent ruts, and there's a little bit loose and rocky in places, but it's all very drivable, certainly in the condition that it's in at this time. And this lower section is the easier portion of the track as well. You know, the helipad is really the point at which, you know, if you weren't too happy with driving this lower section, the helipad would be the spot to turn around and leave the second half for another day. And yeah, this is the final stretch here, straight up to the helipad. The video's not really doing it justice, as it never really does, for how steep this actually is, but it's quite a steep little pinch up to the helipad here. And you sort of get that feeling, you can see how the track seems to go nowhere, and that's pretty much because we are coming up to this helipad area here. Now we did pull up and stop here for a bit before heading on and making our way, and as I said, there's a small descent here which is pretty easy drive down off the helipad, and you can see in the distance there, that's the track working its way up, and it basically follows that hill and that ridge line up and across to the left over to the pinnacles. And the fire tower lookout up there. Finishing that descent and a very short run across the bottom, we basically start climbing that next ridge line, and this is a fairly steady and consistent climb, different grades, but pretty much all the way through here, nearly all the way to the pinnacles. You sort of get some sense of the grade there looking up the track. The fact you can see so much of the track from this camera, and you can see there how much the car's moving too. This particular section's still reasonably wide. There's some decent drop-offs, particularly on that right-hand side. And again, you can see there the track condition. It's pretty smooth. There's a few rocks, and there's a lot of sheetrock on this track, but we didn't have any issues with traction on it. There weren't any little marbles or anything on it, so we just sort of steadily made our way up over it, and none of the steps were overly large or too difficult either. But as you can see, like, it just keeps going and going, and as you get a bit higher up, it moves really from that sandy sheetrock to you know, a really broken up rocky track with a few little rock steps and those sorts of things. This section was probably one of a few sections that are a little bit like this. And look, I variably drove these with the rear locker in or not in. It certainly made a difference. Still very drivable without the rear locker in, but with the rear locker in, it really just drove up and over them a lot more easily. But yeah, there's certainly no reason not to have a crack at Billy Goats. It's one of those tracks that everybody hears about, and certainly when it's in the condition it's in at the moment. This was filmed over the Easter break in 2021. It's you know, if you've got a four-wheel drive with proper low range transfer case and some decent tyres, it's quite drivable. Again, yeah, a few lumpy spots as you work your way around the back side of that ridge. A few decent rocks on the track, and probably some looser sections through here. But again, you just pick your line and you'll find your way up. You can see there again, you get a sense of how steep it is, seeing the track just continuing to climb. And that's the thing, as I said, look, there are a lot of vehicles having overheating issues, and we did as well. Since this trip I found out why we were having overheating issues, and I think that's been fixed. Basically the radiator and the intercooler intake were just 50 to 60% blocked up with mud and insects and grass and everything, and took that to our local Natrad and got it serviced. And it's based on the trip I've done subsequently, it seems to be working a lot better. But that was probably the most challenging thing about this climb on this particular day, was just managing the engine temperature. And yeah, this video, I mean, we've kept a lot of footage in this video, so it's a little over 20 minutes, but I would say we probably took over an hour, probably close to an hour and a half to actually do this trip up Billy Goats Bluff on this particular day. Said, it is a track that just keeps climbing. I mean, it starts off down the bottom there at about 400 meters above sea level and finishes up at the pinnacles at a touch over 1400. So you basically climb 1 kilometer vertically over about 10 or 11 kilometers. So that gives you some idea of the grade. As you're working your way up these ridges here, they just seem to go on and on. Every time you think you're getting to the top of the ridge and that'll be the last one, you sort of come over the top of it and around the corner, and there's another ridge in front of you to climb. We actually planned this trip, and we had planned to take some external footage on this particular trip up Billy Goats, and I guess that didn't happen for 2 reasons. One, there was a lot of traffic on the track. The other reason was we had some problems with the camera, so no doubt we'll be back hitting Billy Goats again in the future to get some better footage shot from outside the car. So yeah, we did end up with just the GoPro footage for this trip again. Pretty happy with the footage that actually comes out of the GoPro. It's just you're a little bit limited to that perspective. It does an amazing job actually with the stability control. For those that are curious, it's a GoPro Hero 8 Black. It's just mounted actually on the windscreen of the car. So yeah, this is certainly one of the tighter sections, and as you can see, we met a couple of vehicles coming the other way here. Fortunately, as we were climbing, they sort of pulled over and let us past. And you can see there that rock step on the right that we just sort of chose not to try and drive. We took the left-hand line. So look, you can make this climb really as hard as you want to. You could try and drive every rock step and every rut, or you can just choose a line that's a little more easier. see how much the car's moving, climbing up over these rocks. And depending on where the volume's sitting, you can probably hear the work the engine's doing. It's just working hard the whole way up here. See what I mean there? Like you've come around the corner there. It looked like we were getting close to the top, and sure enough, there's another climb straight in front of you to just climb that next section of ridge and get that little bit higher. Where as you get close to the top, you're getting close to that section that you see in all the photographs, which is the really narrow ridge section where the track falls away quite sharply both sides. That's the photo of Billy Goats Bluff Track that you always see, and I guess as you've seen from this video, not too much of the track is actually like that. Like there's significant sections of the track that are like this, that while they're steep and everything, you've actually got plenty of ground either side of the track. You're not really at risk of slipping off or falling off. It's just really hard work climbing up it. So yeah, if that photo is what you've seen of Billy Goats Bluff Track, and that's, you know, if you're anything like me, you're probably thinking, if you've never driven the track before, you kind of expect that you're going to be driving up this spine with the track falling away both sides for a fair portion of it, and in reality that's actually just one very specific section of the track, and it's not that long, but you do get a cracking view from it. It's certainly worth the effort to get there. As we're working around the back of this ridge, you can see just looking straight ahead of us there, there's not too much to go in the way of height, and we're actually coming up to that section of the track that I was just talking about that's so heavily photographed. You can see as we're coming through here, and this is probably one of the spots where you get a real appreciation of just how high you are. You can see off to the left hand side there some cracking views across the ridges and the mountains, and you can see here this is the ridge where the track falls away pretty sharply both sides, particularly on the left there, and looking down on those mountains to the left there, you can really get some appreciation for just how high we actually are. At this point here we're probably around 1350 meters, so pretty close to the actual height of the pinnacles. Fortunately, there's a little reversing spot here on the left that this guy and his Amarok was just able to pull off for us and let us past. And we continued on our way. So once you pass there, most of the climbing is pretty much done. I say that just as we come to this little hill here, but yeah, once you pass that ridge, you are pretty much done. The track very quickly, as you'll see here in a minute, wraps around the back of this bluff, and you're driving through a fairly normal sort of bush track, and it's only a few minutes drive through there before you actually get to the Pinnacles car park. So yeah, here we are on that section of track just around the back, and as you can see, it's not particularly steep. It's just like a four-wheel drive track anywhere in the bush, really. Yeah, it's a few minutes drive here. The camera actually runs out of battery just before we sort of get to the car park, so unfortunately I don't actually have footage of us driving into the Pinnacles car park. But it's literally just a few minutes from here. So yeah, at this point I was still trying to find a charging solution, so I was limited to recording time to the number of batteries that I actually had for the GoPro. I have, since this video was filmed, I've gotten a USB charger that actually will charge off the USB ports in the car, because I couldn't charge the batteries direct in the camera in the car. There just didn't seem to be enough amps out of the USB ports to actually do that. So this is definitely one of those tracks I think everybody, you know, if you're going into the high country, you want to have this on your list. Track conditions do vary, but certainly at this time it was very drivable. So this is after the car park. You walk up a short walking track about 400 meters, and that's the fire tower. And you can look on the left hand side, that's the hut where that last photo was taken, and this is where you climb up to the fire tower. And as you can see, it is just a cracking view. That's just one direction. It's well worth the effort. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks again.